one person, one challenge, and one transformation. So welcome to the very first show. Glad you're here. Our guest today uh, is a longtime client. We've known each other a while. Um, Chris Hallett. And Chris, one of my really good friends who just started her Substack called Porchlight and Pine Trees just joined us. So hello there, ma'am. How are you? You didn't expect to be called out on this, did you? And so we want to give Chris applause immediately because he's in England. Okay. And it's 11:30 at night there. And doesn't he look dapper and awake and totally functional so thank you, sir, for
You're
doing
welcome.
that. Um, Chris is the author of Purpose Before Profits. Purpose Before Profits. I love the title of that book. We're going to be diving deep into that. Chris, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Now, the publication of this book was like just last month, right?
Yeah, it was the 19th of May.
Okay, the 19th of May. Now,
Yeah.
you have an interesting publication story that I think the folks might be fascinated by. So dive
Do,
in.
do you mean do you mean the roller coaster week?
Yes,
Y-
that's a really good, yes, the roller
Yeah.
coaster.
Well, there were three things happened that week, and this book, as I said in the opening of the book, um, it took me 10.5 weeks to write from committing to writing it and handing in the manuscript, and 35 years to accumulate the knowledge. And that week was a massive high and a massive low because the book was published on the Tuesday, and it's taken me a long while to accept that I'm looking up on my board because it says I am a good writer, because those are the words of my writing coach who said you can write.
Yes.
um and that was the massive high. um and on the Friday, there were two events. I mean, before we came on here, we were talking about my daughter. My
Right.
daughter messaged me at 6:30 in the morning to say, "Dad, if you're awake, I'm doing a live interview on BBC Radio London in 5 minutes' time." That was about the event she was doing. But then that day, I also got a message from a CEO who had tracked me down through the book because I didn't know he'd actually seen me and my wife talking about it on the train, and he'd been
I
sat right opposite us.
I love it.
The, that's tinged with the big downside because on the very same day, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Wow.
So it's been woo up there, it's been down there. It's just been one of those. Yeah,
Talk about a roller coaster.
yeah,
And from what we know now, it's stage one. Um, very good prognosis.
yeah,
It's just going to
yeah.
be an exhausting few weeks, few months.
It's gonna be 6 months of hormone therapy and a month of radiotherapy.
Okay.
What else? But it's completely treatable. As I've said to people, I'm still going to be here in another 40 years doing what I love.
Yeah, and knowing you, this will just push you. So, tell us a little bit about what Purpose Before Profit is about. You said a CEO is sitting across from you. Are those the kind of people you work with?
The book's mainly aimed at the smaller businesses, although everything that
Okay.
I talk about in the book is applicable to multinationals, multi-billion-dollar corporations. Um, But the book has one guiding principle, and this isn't just my opinion, although I think I've got some good opinions. This is backed up by some research. Um, the fact is that a business that focuses on its purpose, and when I say purpose, I mean its vision, mission, purpose, and its values. Businesses that focus on that purpose more th- instead of just focusing on the profit and the revenue, build a much more a much more profitable and sustainable business instead of just chasing sales and chasing money.
Right. Right.
And the evidence is there from, big accountancy firm, Price Waterhouse. They did a massive study on this,
Right.
and the evidence is there so it applies to small businesses. Focus on your purpose before the profit, and you will make more money in the long run.
I love that. Focus on your purpose before the profit, and you'll
Yeah.
make more money in the long run. And I would imagine that that makes for a lot better culture within.
Yeah, it's not just about, money, it's about growth, and it's about growth in 3 areas. I call it the business growth trifecta. Personal growth, because, you as an individual have to grow yourself to be able to grow your business. The
Yeah.
second area is the business growth, people, infrastructure, and the third area is marketing growth.
Oh, I like how you separated that out.
Yeah,
I like that. Personal, business, and marketing.
market, yes.
I like that.
The reason that, it sort of fits with those 3 areas because it's areas that I've got knowledge, expertise, and some credibility and qualification in.
Got it. Now, one of the things we do, folks, on story and strategy, and one of the reasons it's called story and strategy is we all have stories about what we can do and what we can't do. And Chris, when you and I talked earlier in the week, you brought that one of the things that still bugs you is DMing people that
Yeah.
comment on your stuff from LinkedIn or Substack or whatever. And folks, give us a heart in the chat if that's something you struggle with too. I think it's a pretty big thing. And so we played with that for a while. And one of the ways we were looking at it is, yeah, you can be a jerk and do that kind of stuff and drop in somebody's DMs and offer them you know something to buy right away, which is kind of like proposing on the first date. Usually not a great idea. Um, and so, or there's a way you can do it that is helpful. And one of the things I suggested is if you've got good stuff that helps people, that's a good way to look at it. And after we talked, I thought about a better one. Okay. It's gonna blow you away a little bit. Okay. So let's say that somebody had the 1 day cure, 1 day pill cure for stage 1 prostate cancer. Would you mind them dropping into your communication from something you would put out on the internet?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Yeah, yeah. I'd
Why?
I'd 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 wanna talk to them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and, thank you for saying it that way. I'd want to talk to them. And now, listen, I understand there's a vast difference between helping somebody in their business and cancer. So I don't say that to you know me
yeah,
enough to know this, but I'm saying this for everybody else. I don't use that to minimize this, but to break that story Chris has been telling himself.
mm,
Because all that is a story, and we
yeah,
all have them. And I believe that if you change your story, you can change your life. Change story, change your business. Now, the cool thing as we dive into building out a business for you here is that you know, some people write books and they think that's all they're ever going to have. Now, you and I know the book is one piece and the business can be built around it. And some people write books that make it very hard to do that. You, with your time in the field, did it brilliantly. Half your book is 6 pillars, right?
yeah, mm,
Okay. And what we talked about, Chris and I met earlier in the week. He's one of my advanced students. And we talked about those 6 pillars and how to turn that into from 6 pillars to a complete and total business. Okay. Building your business from just one idea. So in a sentence, Chris, what's the problem you solve?
the problem, the main problem is it's what I call an expert business. They've got a skill, they've got a talent for something. It doesn't matter whether it's technical business, human resources, accounting. They're the specialist, and they start up their business, but then think that that specialism will guide them, and it doesn't.
Right.
They're making decisions based on their expertise rather than on what's right for their vision, mission, and purpose.
Got it. It reminds me of, I don't know if they show this over there, but here in the States, we have this TV show called Bar Rescue. And
No.
this guy named John Tapper, I think it is, goes into a bar that's failing. And if you can find it over there, you'd love it because it's a great marketing show and basically digs in both
Mm.
to the people and the thing. And one of the themes he runs into is, well, this guy was a real estate agent and decided to do something else. And I didn't know a thing about running a bar, but I thought I'd figure it out. Well, not necessarily. Okay.
Mm.
So, and then how do you solve that problem? What's your answer to that problem?
Well, for a start off, I run something called the Purpose Led Leadership Assessment, which looks at 6 areas of their business. There's 60 questions in that assessment. And there's no right and wrong answers. It's non judgmental, but it highlights the area of the business that they need to focus on the most.
I like that.
Um, whether it's their vision, whether it's the leader themselves, 6 different areas.
Got it. Got it. Now that sets the beginning framework, folks, because I want you to watch. Well, watching this, one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to relate to whatever stories somebody's telling themselves that are in the way. I bet a lot of us can relate to the being uncomfortable. I was telling Chris earlier in the week about a woman I once worked with, and some of you are old enough to get this, right? Porch light and pine trees. Um, we had her all ready. Product was done. She was building her list. She was ready to launch it. And she gets a hold of me in a panic after 9 o'clock on a weeknight because in her mind, you couldn't email. It was rude to email somebody after 9 p.m. Okay. And those of us that grew up in our generation, at least here in the States, you didn't call anybody after 9 o'clock when I was growing up unless it was an emergency. So if the phone rang after 9, something was going on. Okay. And so, we just had to shift that story a little bit. She sent it out and crushed it. So what we're doing here, folks, is taking what Chris has got in the book, 6 pillars. Okay. Now, that has a whole lot of content to it, right? And Sean, buddy, glad you're here, and the answer is yes.
Mm.
The first place to start, folks, whether it's 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, whatever, pillars, secrets, tips, universal laws, whatever, um, you start with those. That's already got your that informs all of what you're gonna be doing, and you've got a lot of content there. The first piece of content that Chris already has out there is one post on Substack about those 6 pillars, okay? And it's worth checking Chris Hallett out on Substack just
Mm.
for those articles because he's done a really good job of setting the framework for each of the pillars. And then what he's begun to do is take each pillar and create a post around that, okay? And he'll continue to do that, and he'll end up with 7 posts from one idea, okay? How many notes do you think Chris could get out of those 7 articles? And the information around those 7 articles, virtually endless, okay? Now, the next step is going from your content, that's your idea, right? And here's where a lot of folks get hung up. Well, I've created all this content, and you've believed the big lie from, all kinds of sources that if you just keep posting, if you just keep creating and create and create and create and create more, the money will come. And it doesn't work that way. Okay. The next step is your lead magnet. How are you going to get people to sign up with you? Now, the beautiful thing that Chris has done, that you've done, bud, 6 pillars article for each pillar, 7 articles altogether. That's your lead magnet.
Yeah.
Right? It's a guidebook. The first article is the intro,
Mhm.
and then there's 6 sections. Now notice, folks, this is important. Could it be an ebook? Yeah. You notice I said guide. Why? Ebooks have been around for a long, long time, and they don't bring a lot of people in as a lead back, okay? The same information formatted as a guidebook, boom, okay? So, the one idea is the 6 pillars. Purpose before profit, the 6 pillars of that, okay? We've got content, and I'll come back to that in a minute, how that content can expand going forward. We've got the lead magnet, okay? Now, let's talk about an entry-level product, right? And again, you've got a lot of that already
Yeah.
in those 6 pillars. Um, what would you do what would you add to that lead magnet to make it an entry-level product?
Uh, I'd ask some questions in there
Okay,
so that they can actually write down, so they read the section, some questions, just like I'm coaching them live,
right,
and they write answers down. So they've actually got something that's relevant to them. Um, I might even put a video in with it to turn it into a course.
yep. Yep. That wouldn't even have to be a course, just one video with an overview and then, putting in questions there. One of the first things I did 20 years ago, gosh, has it been that long? When I first got online, at the end of articles, all I would do is add in a set of, like, 5 action questions
Yeah.
designed to get people into action about it. And that's all I added and sold those articles for $7. It was amazing to me. Now, are you gonna get $7 at a time? Well, yeah, if you sell 1,000,000 of them. However, that's buying behavior. And folks, write this down. You know what buyers do? They buy. Buyers buy, whether it's a dollar, $7, or 7,000, okay? And so now you've turned this into an entry level product with questions. What you could do, and this is crazy, and the one video, what you could do underneath either every one of those questions, and you'd have this in a PDF, right? A downloadable PDF. Under each question would be several lines where they could answer the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. And you just enhance the value and enhance the price with blank lines. That's a that's a pretty good deal. Okay. So again, we've got one idea, folks, and what I want you to do is watch this with 2 things in mind. How can I use this in my own business? And how can I get Jeff to do for me what he's doing for Chris? All right. So we've got one idea, the 6 pillars. Okay. We've got content, we've got a lead magnet, we've got an entry level product. You mentioned course. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you could do with this. It could be a 6 module course.
Mhm.
Okay. It could be, I would seriously consider making it a 5 module course because with courses, especially now, once you get past about 4 or 5 modules, it begins to feel heavy for people, okay? And that's either that 6th pillar or one of the 6 could become one of the bonuses, okay? So, you get 5 modules, and then this bonus is one of the bonuses, and that's the 6th one, okay? Now, you're not that far with what you've already got as we build here from turning this into a course. You've got the text, okay? You've got you got a workbook, right? With
Yeah.
the questions and the lines, okay? So there's homework there. You've got one video, and the next thing you could do is have a video for each module, right? Now, we're not talking about a 2-hour video, not even a 30-minute video, 15, 20 minutes tops. Because the way the psychology there works is one of my favorite authors is Stephen Pressfield, okay? The War of Art, and he talks a lot about creativity, and a lot of his books are very, very short chapters, okay? And you feel like you've accomplished something. The number 1 most wealthy read author in the world is oh, I'm blanking on his last name. James. He writes the adventures and the criminal stories. James Patterson. James Patterson. Okay.
What is so?
If you read his books, a regular paperback has about 200 chapters. Okay, because the chapters are short and it keeps you reading. The same with video. Um, you could put in a checklist, right, for each pillar. Uh, I love to see you taking notes. And folks, this is gonna come out tomorrow on the replay. So Chris, you can watch it, and so can everybody else. So don't break any arms doing this. Um, now, in the age of AI, uh, something to consider would be your own personal GPT on the six pillars and or one for each pillar. Okay. That helps
Yeah.
people flesh that out. That's course. Okay. Now, um, the articles are free. The magnet's free. That entry level product, I'm thinking 27 in that neighborhood to start and then move it up to 47. The course, um, what you could do is price it at 497, and then when you sell it for the first time, before you've made the recordings, okay, use the backstage pass strategy. Okay, folks,
Yeah.
when this is completed, it's going to be 497. Get a backstage pass as we begin here, and it's 97 or 197. And that way they get their questions answered live, and you get paid to what? You get paid to create your course.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not a bad idea. Phil says Pressfield is great, and the short punching writing style has good portion size payload ratio is everything. Yeah, it really is. Pressfield, Patterson, and that's what I try to do in my stuff too. And so there you go. Um, and then a course would be, like I said, 97 to 197, something this size. Now, let's get to the glory, the delightfulness, the deliciousness, the business supporting dynamic of recurring income. Okay? Because that is a wonderful thing to be able to know this month, no matter what I do, this much recurring is coming in. Okay? Now, I'm really, really big, and I've learned this the hard way, really, really big on delivery time and consumption time. Okay. How much delivery do you got to do as the owner? How long does it take to consume? And I learned that way back in the very beginning. I had well, actually my first successful membership, and it taught the 5 different pieces of article marketing. And we had a teleseminar for each one of those 5 a month. Already, I can feel people going, oh. Okay, now back then, that seemed like a cool thing, right? And I had my oldest son, John, on with me reading the questions, so it was kind of fun. Um, the few people that got out because they couldn't keep up. They felt overwhelmed by so the service delivery was huge and the consumer time was huge. You don't wanna do that. Um, let's go with the easiest model to start, okay, for a membership or a recurring revenue product, okay? You've got 6 pillars, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you focused on 1 pillar a month, okay, you've got 6 months of content already, okay? And the easiest service delivery, and people will love you for it because it doesn't take up a lot of time. You do a training a month, okay? Let's
Yeah.
call it week 2. You do it during week 2 of the month. On week 4, you do a Q&A, and that's the show,
Love it.
right?
Yeah.
And, they've also got access to everything that was in the course, the, checklist or anything else that's there, okay? Now, we could really beef that up and do one pillar a week. But why do that to you right now? You know, you're at a place in life where you need a little bit of uh let's pace myself here, right? Okay. So
I think I think also, this book is 390 pages.
well,
Um,
wait. I gotta stop you. You showed us the opposite of the spine. Show us the cover. Come on, Chris. Come on. All right. Purpose before profit. There we go. There we go.
yeah,
All right.
uh, yeah,
Highly
it's
recommended. And in the
it,
show
it's
notes, there'll be a link to that.
yeah, it's a meaty book,
Yes.
and I think that um that train that course is going to have to be kept at quite a high level,
Right.
which I think then opens up the scope for something deeper, which is the mastermind.
Exactly. Exactly. And what you do with that is you're always watching from lead magnet through membership for the people you would want to have in a mastermind
Yeah,
to send out the invite. You and I have done that a couple of times. Um,
indeed.
so yeah, it leads greatly to the mastermind. Now, here's a couple cool things about and just as an aside, isn't meaty a British word, a British descriptive word? Something's meaty.
Yes, yeah,
I remember learning that from Monty Python. Okay, because they did the opposite. Because isn't the opposite tinny? Seriously,
tiny.
tinny or tiny? They would say tinny. Anyway, just how many any Monty Python fans out there? Just give us a shout. So here's what's really me too. Here's one more side story. My college and grad school roommate Matt. He and I would stay up to find it on a PBS channel somewhere. This is in the early '80s. You couldn't just demand it, right? Um, and then he got married. And when before he got married, Laura was over and would watch it with us, and we're in hysterics copying it. And she's looking at us like, "What is wrong with you two?" And what really pushed her over the edge is even after he was married, when we knew one was coming on, Matt would call me up and we'd watch Monty Python on the phone together. And Laura would be like, "What's wrong with you, man?" Anyway, here comes the cool part. All right. You do the 6 month one, right? You've got a lot of the content done. And remember, folks, part of the theme here is building a business from one idea. Okay. We're still within that one idea. Now, you're going to do pillar one on month one, pillar two on month two, and etc. Um, now, let's say those 6 months go by. Okay. Well, what do we do then, Jeff? Well, you run the six pillars again.
Mhm.
But won't people be bored? Won't that be repetition? Well, some of it will be repetition because that's how you learn. Okay. Um, you made me smile this week, Chris, when you were doing something, and you said it'll be done before my head hits the pillow tonight. How many times have you heard me say that?
That's where I learnt that from.
That's right. Yeah, and I've heard it before somewhere. Um, what's happened is that it might be repetitive for some, but they need that. Okay. However, you're going to have people that might have heard about the first pillar and either weren't ready for it or that 6 months later, they're at a whole different place in their job.
Yeah,
Okay. And you're going to get people that joined in the second month or the third or the fourth or the fifth, and they don't know anything about that first pillar. So when you start over, it's brand new to them.
yeah,
And so, folks, the point, and I do have one, is that with what we've done here, okay, setting up that kind of membership is you've got not just 6 months to start done, you've got a year, and that could go on for multiple years because purpose before profit is timeless, and so are its pillars. Okay. Now, we could load you up with a lot more and make this a lot more complicated and sell you a big, course creator in it. But why? When it can be this simple. And I hope you guys ideas are pinging in your head about all this. Tell me a little bit about, because I wasn't going to go there. As we wrap up here, tell me a little bit about um, the mastermind you're thinking of coming out of this.
Well, there's two sides to what I do. There's the sort of coaching training side, but then there's actually going deeper with individuals
Right.
uh, to run. I run a breakthrough session with certain clients, and that's high ticket, high end, because we're
Right.
finding out what their real problem is individually, the root cause of all of their problems, such that when that's gone, every other problem disappears. So what I'd probably a mastermind is do it with a group, but do that session individually,
I like
but in
that.
small groups of people.
Yeah. Small
This this
groups.
this would be something. This isn't pre-recorded. This is done live, um, because of the nature of it. That's where my sort of professional coaching side comes in.
I love it. And it reminds me of when I was a professional counselor, I did a lot of work with teenagers,
Yeah.
okay, in groups. And people would look at me like I was crazy when I'm walking into a room with 8 of them. What they didn't know from, the drug treatment center where I used to work, I was walking into a room with 45 of them. And, it would have taken only 3 or 4 to take me, and they never figured that out, thank goodness. Um, what really made it cool was, okay, every kid I worked with in that group, I also did individual work. And guess what kids come with? They come with families,
Mm,
okay? And they got issues. Mom's
yeah.
got issues, dad's got issues, the marriage has got issues. And I really built my beginning practice over that, over doing groups, because most therapists in that town were are terrified of them. Okay. And that became practice. Just like this will become a whole business because some of the people that get into the membership or the mastermind are going to want some individual time with you. They're going to want some other stuff.
Mm,
And the people, all the other things are, I like to think of it as all roads lead to membership or
mm,
all roads lead to mastermind. All those other things can lead there. And that, sir, I wouldn't call it a business in a box. I'd call it in a business in a button, because I'm working on this master tool to put in the idea and it gives you in your language all your stuff. And you'll
yeah.
be getting that as we go forward.
Mm.
All right, man, I get so juiced by these things. Um, and and I love you hanging in there till midnight your time, so that's amazing. Let's get you to bed. Um, Chris, thanks for being here. We're gonna be
Yeah.
working together talking, so, we'll do a lot more with this, but this is the thing here, okay? Now, listen to me. Okay. I would say this to anybody. I'm saying it especially to you because, you need to go a little, um, you're welcome, Phil. Thanks. I like that. You need to get some rest, right? We're not doing the whole thing tonight. We're not doing the whole thing this week. We're not doing the whole thing this month. We might not even get to the whole thing this year, and
Yeah.
that's okay. All right. We'll do it one thing at a time because to plop it all out there at once is like asking people to drink through a fire hose.
Yeah.
They may not be thirsty anymore, but they're not comfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, thank you for being here. Tell your lady thank you for loaning you to us for the evening. Enjoy your holiday tomorrow. Continuing to pray for you.
Cheers.
Folks, thank you all for being here. And those
Yes.
of you that do the prayer thing, do that for Chris as well. Now, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here for the first one. And what you've just watched can apply to you. What you've just watched is Chris break through a story he had. Okay. And I kind of really shocked him out of it tonight. But it worked, respectfully.
Yeah.
And then, building a whole business from one idea. Okay. And you can do the same thing. All right. Now, we do this every week in all the different pieces of my business. And if you want to go further, faster with that, there will be information about that in the replay tomorrow and in the email coming out. So, um, two things. thank you all for being here, especially Chris at midnight.
Yep.
A lot of places you could have been online. You chose to be with us. Very, very grateful for that. Always honored by it. And as always, folks, you know what I'm going to say now, Chris?
Go on.
Huh?
Go on. Remind me.
Okay. All right. As always, folks, go use this stuff
Go use this stuff.
and we will catch you next time.